everybody. Welcome to the Naturopathy workshop that we're presenting today. My name's Mindy.
I'm Liz.
And we just want to do a bit of a disclaimer before we start, if that's okay. We just want to let you know that this is just some general information that we're presenting today. So there's no really health prescriptions that are individualised today. It's just about some general information. So we always advise that if you do want to get something formalised as an individual, that you make an appointment to see us practitioners. Okay. So today's topic, so what we're going to be talking to you all about today is what is naturopathy and why we became naturopaths. So we're going to be telling you our stories as well. What happens in a consult and what naturopaths do. We're also going to be telling you some themes that we come across a lot in naturopathy practice. And we're going to talk to you about the tools that we have available as well as naturopaths. So one of the things we're going to touch on briefly is some overwhelm and stress, because often that underpins a lot of conditions that we do see in practice. We're obviously going to show our contact details as well. We're going to talk about some upcoming workshops and events, and we're going to open up for question time at the end.
Okay, so as defined by the World Health Organization, health is a state of complete physical, mental, emotional, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And this aligns perfectly with naturopathic philosophy.
Okay, so what is naturopathy? So naturopathy is a distinct and complete type of healthcare. It's a system of healthcare. Basically what we use is scientific knowledge and evidence, and we use traditional methods as well. Naturopathy encompasses a combination of different things such as nutrition, medical testing, herbal medicine. We use minerals, we use iridology, which is looking into the eyes to see different signs of health and familial history as well. We use functional medical testing, such as tests for allergies, heavy metals, hormonal function, all sorts of other things too. We use massage too and lifestyle factors in treatment and prevention of strategies.
Okay, so a qualified naturopath is trained at tertiary level and is a member of a professional association which governs our practice and our ethics. Naturopaths work alongside other health professionals, including doctors and specialists, to provide integrative healthcare in many cases. A naturopath can help treat illness, usually alongside other health professionals, but also focuses on wellness promotion as a form of prevention.
Okay, so we're continuing our talk about what naturopathy is. So our study that we do to become naturopaths involves a comprehensive understanding of anatomy and physiology. We really look at the body from a cellular level all the way up to systems. We learn the fundamentals of nutrition and the biochemical balance that underpins wellness. Our understanding of herbal medicine extends into botanical knowledge and detailed understanding of constituents that also aid physiological responses to assist a return to balance. We learned that one thing leads into the next, and we understand that complexities make up individual needs. Very important.
Some remedies that we use can be supplied from a practitioner only brand such as Metagenics in ready-made formulas, whilst other remedies can be tailor-made by naturopaths, such as our liquid herbal medicines that we have in our dispensaries. And these are specific to the individual's needs. This is why the foundation of practice comes from consulting with the client, so that specialised, specific, tailored, holistic treatment can be administered.
Okay, so 5 foundational principles underpin the practice of naturopathy. There are a few more than this, but these are the really fundamental principles that underpin this. So the healing power of nature, a very important part of what we do as naturopaths. So nature is all that we're about here. So we also really focus on doing no harm. So safety is a very, very important aspect of what we do as practitioners. Really make sure that we act in the best interests of the client and their safety. We also like to find and treat the cause wherever possible. So not only the symptoms, which is a very important part of what we do too, because the symptoms often represent something underlying there, and we really like to look to get to the bottom of those. Treat the whole person. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit more detail. And we also, one of the biggest things about us as naturopaths is something that really empowers our clients is to give you the knowledge. So doctor as teacher, so education and prevention, very important part of this. So we'd both like you to think of naturopathy as a general collation of natural therapies combined into one modality. So really it's a one-stop shop for natural medicine.
Okay, we thought we'd both tell you about why we became naturopaths. So I'll start. Since I was a child, I was the type of kid who would like to put my hand on someone's knee, or if their heart was heavy, or I felt that they were sad, or I would like to be near that person and provide some comfort, some way of helping. Another thing that I marvelled at when I was younger was often when we'd fall over and skin our knees or our elbows, I often wondered how amazing it was that firstly we'd have a wound and then it would develop a scab, and all of that could happen without us even thinking about it. I found that fascinating. I just thought I'd mention that. As a child, I also valued perspectives of others, and I still do today. I really love the whole idea of other points of view and that there's more to something than meets the eye. So there's that sense of wonder. Also, I would say another thing that led me, in a way, to become a practitioner, naturopath, is that nature is a source of medicine for me. I love nature. I reset in nature, and I find it restorative and replenishing. I think most of us do, actually. After leaving school, I travelled to Western Australia and lived in the Pilbara, and lived with some Aboriginal communities. What I noticed there that impressed on me so significantly was these Indigenous people, their well-being was very much about connection and belonging and their place in nature, and also the whole notion that for one to be well, our spirit needs to be well. So that really struck me, and I realised it was something that I'd always known, but it certainly impressed on me there, actually living with these people. Soon after that, I decided to train and became a nurse, and I was a nurse for 10 years. Loved what I was doing. I loved nursing, particularly sitting on the end of someone's hospital bed, and chatting with them about how they felt. I didn't enjoy the hospital, the hurried environment in a hospital. That didn't impress me too much at all. But I loved nursing so much, as I said, that I wanted to go and study further. So I actually made inquiries, significant inquiries, and made an application to study further nursing in Edinburgh in the UK. That was 1992, and I went over there and I had all references and everything lined up and my whole application form ready to go. And they said to me, once you get here, just be in contact with us and we'll arrange an interview and you'll slot into the next training, whenever that was. So when I got there, I had an epiphany of sorts, because I was there without anyone that I knew, so none of my familiar reference points were there. And I thought to myself, what do I really want to do with my life? What do I really want to do? And I realised, as I said, I didn't like the hospital hurried environment, but I loved the caring and I loved providing what I felt was valuable care and valuable skills to people. And it came down literally like a shaft of light around me, that I wanted to study natural medicine. And natural medicine to me was about nurturing one's spirit, about an individualised approach, about empowering other people. And I thought, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. So I decided there and then, in that moment, that's what I would do. And the funny thing was that up until then, I could not find this college that I'd applied to. I was asking people around me that lived in Edinburgh, and they didn't know. It was like I was asking in another language, and it was almost obscured from view for me. When I had that awareness that was what I wanted to do professionally and with my life, a couple of days later I actually found it. The college was about 500 metres, seriously, from where I was living, where I was sharing a house. It was actually there the whole time. But it was almost as if some strange, I don't know what kind of intervention that is, but it was just, it was as clear to me as that's what I would be doing, and I felt like I was completely on purpose with that, and so I decided to study natural medicine. That's what I did. I returned to Australia about a year later, and got going.
Thank you, Liz. That's a really inspiring story. Really interesting way that you kind of found your passion. It's really inspiring.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to share my story as well. I think both Liz and I have a real passion for what we do, and that's why we really wanted to share those moments with you and how we came to be where we are today. So with me, it started with my family and their ailments, if you will. So my eldest child, when he was about 4 to 5 years old, he was quite sickly. He was very unwell all the time. He had frequent fevers, and even to the point where he'd have febrile convulsions, and it was quite scary to see our young man quite ill quite often. But as I'm a non-panicking kind of parent, I thought children get sick. This is nothing to worry about. He will grow out of it. He's just a bit more sickly than maybe other kids. So we obviously applied, natural remedies already without realising it, and looking after him, with home care and taking him to the doctor when we felt he needed it, obviously. He had lots of antibiotics. He was quite unwell. It started getting worse. He started getting more frequently ill, and that was quite scary for us. So we realised that he was being hospitalised quite often, to the point where he was taken to Royal Children's in Melbourne because they couldn't really care for him in Bairnsdale where we lived at the time. So what they discovered was that he started off with a kidney infection, but it ended up being a cyclic neutropenia, which is where the white cells of the body aren't producing enough. So it's a certain type of white cell. And that basically meant his bone marrow was suppressed for some reason, and they couldn't figure out why. So there was a lot of research, a lot of investigations for our son without really a real answer as to what was going on. So that was the kickstarter for me. I also had a little baby, a newborn baby at the time during this couple of years that he was unwell, and he developed severe eczema. He was quite unwell, and I was breastfeeding him, and he was literally covered head to toe. And I was quite alarmed with some of the medical suggestions that came about with him, and I really it didn't align with me whatsoever. Lots of steroidal creams, bleach baths were mentioned to me as well, which I certainly didn't want to put my baby through at the time. So for me, it was a lot of investigation. I started really looking and trying to understand what was going on. I had a few hormonal issues myself after birthing my children, and my stomach, my digestion wasn't great, and my son's digestion wasn't great either, my other son. So I had 4 children altogether, and he was always having a really hard bloated stomach. He'd always have trouble passing bowel movements, and again we struggled with doctors and their diagnosis there. So what I started doing was reading and learning and understanding medical language and really trying to get my head around what was going on. And I discovered that there was things that I can do. And I felt like everything that we were living in was a cycle of sickness rather than wellness, and it really made me feel like I was caving in under the pressure at the time. So when I started researching, I started feeling something that was a little bit different. I started feeling empowered. And I started realising that there are things that I can do as a person, as a mum, as just a general person in their lives. So I started looking at natural ways that I could heal my family. My husband had long-standing rheumatoid arthritis, and he was always in pain, and I thought, this is no way to live. This is not a really good way of managing it. So, just started changing our diet really is where things began for me, and I started looking into natural supplements and things like that as well. And what I found was really interesting, particularly with my eldest child, was that we went back to GAPS kind of diets, and that was a really great way for me. I read a lot of books and stuff that really aligned with me personally. And I started doing that with my family, and I really noticed health improving for everybody. Initially, symptoms got a little worse, which is very interesting. But then things really started improving. So my son had monthly blood tests to check his neutrophils to see if they were increasing. And I was basically given a deadline. If his neutrophils don't come up, we'll need to do a spinal tap, and we may look at chemo for him as well. So that was a big, whoa, okay, I don't want that to happen. So I started looking at ways that I could support him. His blood started improving. So this was huge. His first blood test was still the same. He was still sitting at dangerously low levels. He was still very ill. Second time we went in a month later, his bloods had come up quite significantly, and that was, the pathologist said to me, your doctor's going to be really happy. And I was like, wow. So the doctor rang me out of the blue and said to me, Mindy, keep doing what you're doing because things are improving for your son. So we didn't have to go back to Royal Children's, and that was back in 2013, and he's now 13. He was 7 at the time, and he's taller than me, so and he's a very healthy young man, and he's doing really well. My husband now feels better than he did 10 years ago. My son's eczema has improved to the point where he doesn't even have a spot on his body. Myself and my other son with our digestive issues, we were diagnosed celiac, and that came from my father's side of the family. My father was as well, so it really gave us a clear picture as to what was going on in our digestive system. We are regular, we're not constipated, things are a lot better for us that way as well. But we also feel more energised. People have energy, we feel it in our family. We're not kind of drowning in this cycle of doctor's appointments and feeling unwell and just not feeling ourselves, and we can tackle the world and do what we want to do now. So it's a really, really wonderful thing. So I feel like, the passion for me comes from being able to empower other people, because people started coming to me and asking me for advice. So they started seeing my kids improving, they started seeing my husband improving, they saw me improving, and they wanted to know what I was doing. So when I was asked those questions, I thought there's something in this, and I can help others to achieve that empowerment that I achieved myself. So I started studying, and I'm a qualified journalist, so I had no idea about anatomy and physiology or chemistry or any of that. So it was a huge undertaking. But when you have passion for something, you put your heart and soul into it, and it's really easy. It becomes really easy. So yes, I did struggle with some of the anatomy stuff, but I really worked at it. I worked really hard to understand. And now I'm really happy to be standing here as a qualified naturopath, being able to help others achieve their health goals.
Awesome.
So I don't know if you can see the slide, but here we've got my son as an example when he was 15 months old. He's quite sick. He's got eczema all over his little face. He's very cute, but he's actually wearing mittens to stop himself from scratching. So it was, quite an awful time for us at the time. And this is him at 2.5 years old. His skin is beautiful and clear, and he doesn't have to wear those horrible mittens anymore. Okay, thank you.
Great, Mindy.
Thank you,
Such
Liz.
a cool story.
Thank you, everybody.
So cool. So what happens in a consultation? The first consultation is spent getting to know each other. We ask a lot of questions, don't we?
Yeah, we do, definitely. We like to get to the bottom of things.
Yeah. So we'll do some investigating, often asking you to tell us in your own words what you are feeling.
So we may look at your eyes. So the eyes tell us a big story. Parts of your physical features tell us a big story, such as your nails as well. Your tongue. We'll ask you to tell us your consistency, shape and colour of your stool. We like to talk about poo. So we do that because it tells us what's going on inside the body. We may do some testing such as allergy testing, hormonal testing, zinc tally tests to see what your zinc levels are and more. Our job is to find out from you, the client, how you are feeling and what your goals are. What are your goals here? What do you want to achieve from seeing us as naturopaths as well? So we may ask you to fill in questionnaires. We really love questionnaires because it gives us a bit of insight before we actually sit down with you as well. We also will always ask about medical diagnosis. We'll always ask if there's anything that's already there that you already are aware of. Your knowledge is important to us as well. We'll ask if you're taking any medications, supplements, if you have any allergies or intolerances as well. So here you can see we have the Bristol stool chart. This is a very important tool that we use in practice quite often. So if somebody's having issues with their gut or any other issues and they're talking about their stool not being quite right or they're not regular, we'll ask them to point to which type their stool might be. And that will give us, sometimes it's a few, sometimes it might be like number 1 and other times it might be like number 6. And that gives us a really clear picture that there's some issues going on with malabsorption perhaps, issues with the gut lining, inflammation as well.
It also creates awareness for the person too, doesn't it? When someone might think, oh, that's just what's always been.
Yeah, I'm pretty regular. I go every 3 days.
Things like
that. Whereas for us, we look at that and go, "That's great," but it'd be ideal if you could go every day.
And then correlating that with the symptoms that someone has, and then it sort of makes sense. And we can also use that as a visual representation of like, well, now I'm actually more you know, in the more favourable range. So it's very useful.
We like sausage shapes, don't we? Okay, so we also did that one already, I think, so we'll just move on from that one. Okay, so this is yours, Liz, I think.
Okay, so a naturopath will work through individual cases through asking questions, requesting clinical tests, and devise a treatment plan that is specific and tailor-made to each individual. As Mindy said, we ask you what your goals are. We want to know how you feel, and it's really important that you can articulate that and you have the space to do that. And we make a plan with you towards feeling better. We must search for the upstream causes of downstream symptoms and disease. So that's why we ask a lot of questions. A naturopath focuses on treating the whole person and spends quality time with each person, taking a case history really thoroughly, and we really listen in a confidential and supportive way.
So you can continue.
Yeah, so the whole person, as we all know, is emotional, spiritual, mental and physical. We acknowledge that. This often means as well that we need to work with other health professionals in their area of expertise. Sometimes we may refer someone to a psychologist, sometimes it may be to a GP or a specialist via a GP, chiropractor, etc. We work in a really supporting role to give a person some tools to develop.
So here's a visual representation of the whole person. We just talked about that before. Thanks, Liz, for introducing that concept. I think it's really important.
Yeah.
So the mental, the intellectual, the emotional, the spiritual and the physical. It just gives us an idea how they cross into each other. So if something's not right mentally or emotionally or spiritually, it will affect things physically just well. Okay, so what is the whole person? So we touched on that before. So the emotional aspect is the emotions of a person can be very complex. We know that. Each individual is very individualised, that side of things, and that's why we love what we do, because we focus on that person for their own individual qualities and the things that they're presenting with. The emotions are something that we try to support by listening and trying to understand with empathy as well. The spiritual side of things is very personal and unique to everybody as well. So often there is some compromise of spirit that needs to be addressed too. That can be even considerably minor, but it may affect things in a major way. Physical imbalances can affect a range of other body processes, including the physical, the emotional, and the mental as well. And the mental stuff is obviously, mental health is very important for physical well-being, for whole well-being as well. So the mind has powerful effects on the body and needs a lot of nurturing.
So some of the tools that we have available as practitioners, we provide individualised high-quality treatments using tools such as nutrition and tailored dietary advice and supplementation where necessary. Herbal medicines, they may be liquid herbal medicines that we blend for someone, and these are ones that you don't buy off the shelf. These are ones that we've got big dispensaries, and we choose certain herbs safely first that are particular to that person and what we're wanting to achieve. Also maybe tablet herbal medicines, lifestyle advice, and certainly massage.
Okay, so first thing, we're just going to touch on a few of these in a bit more detail. So nutrition begins with the diet through eating food that is required for optimising health and well-being. So during a consultation, we'll always look at diet as something that we find very important, with some advice provided. That could be minor as well, depending on what you're presenting with. We certainly don't like to add to any overwhelm as well. This is highly individualised. As we said, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach at all. And it's backed by scientific research a lot of the time too, because we find that this gives us something to base our work on. Also, we often use smaller changes that are implemented to encourage compliance with you as well, because we don't want to come in, tell you to change everything overnight, because we know ourselves that that's a challenging thing to ask, and we understand that it's going to take a bit of time. And we also want to diminish your sense of overwhelm for you. Also, we advise, for example, like it would be reduced caffeine rather than giving up your coffee altogether at first.
So diagnostics such as skin, nail and tongue checks or pathology testing can show us if there are signs of any deficiencies. Allergy testing through skin prick testing, pathology and hair testing also form part of our nutritional care. So we focus on treating the whole person. We spend quality time listening, as we said earlier, in a very confidential manner.
Okay, so you can see above here there's a result from an allergy test that's been done. This was done using a hair test sample. And what it's shown us is some percentages, and this is based on intolerances, not allergies as such. So they're all very different. They all look at different things. But this one, the way that they set them out is usually there's colours, so we can see some of the more prominent ones here in this client's example. And you'll see that some of them are bright red, and that usually means that food or that spice or that herb will affect that client in a profound way. So we take those things out so that the body can heal and so things can improve for that client.
Okay, so just a little bit about herbal medicine. Herbal medicine is also known as phytomedicine, and it's the medicinal use of certain plants, algae, seaweed and fungi. Herbal medicine is administered as a standalone or as a synergistic formula that can take many forms, including tablets, capsules, liquids, creams, balms, salves and poultices. We also use beautiful flower essences that enhance and really help support emotional well-being. So herbal medicine is an ancient and a modern form of therapy with both traditional and modern science underpinning constituents used in practice. And interestingly, much of the old understanding of specific herbal actions has been tested and proven with modern science.
It's very interesting, the scientific side of that,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we also, you can see there that that's an example of a dispensary that we use and making up a herbal formula for a client in this image here. So herbal formulas are specifically formulated and can only be prescribed after a consultation. So if somebody rings us up and says, can I get this, this and this, unfortunately you can't. We like to give you the prescription wholeheartedly and individually, because it's something that we need to check. We need to look for safety. It's very, very important. We also need to check for allergies, medications, interactions, contraindications as well. Very important part of what we do. They are powerful medicines despite being natural. So that's something else to remember with what we prescribe as well. They are powerful medicines.
We also offer lifestyle advice to complement other therapies, including exercise, movement, might be yoga, referrals to other health professionals, meditation, certainly, fresh air, and more. We're also trained to offer relaxation massage, which can be a standalone treatment or used in combination with consultation or follow-up consultations.
So what else do we offer? So apart from all of that, we do offer some other things too. So the main thing about what we do as complementary therapists is that we spend time in consultations. We really do take the time. So generally an initial consult can take anywhere from 1.5 to 2 hours, depending, sometimes an hour, but it's always that minimum amount of time that we like to spend with our clients. We really like to listen and understand each case so we can work with the whole person to achieve positive outcomes. So naturopaths, us as naturopaths can order functional pathology testing if needed. As we mentioned before, but we can do some blood tests, we can do saliva testing, we can do hormonal testing and more. And often, as the case, we will send it off to Naturopath usually. That is often our preferred pathology Yep, there's this test kit there.
Yeah.
We do urine collections, we do stool testing too, and it's all very safe. You do that in the privacy of your own home and send it directly off to pathology through the post. And the results come back to us as practitioners and we interpret those. And we often refer clients, as we mentioned before, to other practitioners as well, because we find that our scope of practice is, we know what that is, we know our limitations.
Yeah. Sure.
And we know that that can serve you as a client in the best possible way if we can involve other practitioners if needed.
Yeah, and one thing I know that you do as well as I do, Mindy, when we interpret the results, we discuss that with you,
Of course.
so that it has a meaning for you, and we discuss how we're going to use that understanding, what we're going to use it for. It's not just a bunch of figures on a page and words. We say, well, this is what this means for you, and this is how we're going to use it.
And often it'll be a whole consultation, follow-up consultation, just going through the results and what that means.
Yeah. So some of the common themes in naturopathic practice, certainly that we see, chronic conditions such as arthritis, asthma, heart disease or cardiovascular issues, diabetes, endocrine disorders, allergies, sometimes symptoms with an unknown cause, such as fatigue. And there's sort of nebulous sort of symptoms like aches and pains and frequent infections. Also, someone feeling not quite themselves, not quite right, or they haven't felt well since. We see a lot of that. So one of the main things that we notice in practice is people presenting with a degree of overwhelm. We see that a lot.
We do. So we're going to touch briefly on stress and overwhelm at the moment. So stress and a degree of overwhelm often underpins other physical conditions too that affect everything in life, not just feeling unwell. So we talk about stress, you hear about stress quite a lot, but there is a lot more to it than just the concept of stress. We do need a degree of stress to function, to adapt, to be able to get on with our lives and do the things we do, to be able to function well. However, there is that borderline there that can be quite tricky to navigate and is very highly individualised as to when that stress affects us in a negative way. When the overwhelm is addressed, many of the travelling symptoms improve or resolve, which allows for other issues to be tackled that may be underlying. If there are any, sometimes there aren't anything else that needs to be addressed. And as I said, we do need stress to function, but naturopathy can help support the body, the mind and the emotions as well. There's something really important to think about too. And there's an array of natural treatments that are specifically designed to support the body during stress as well. Even if you know that stress isn't going to go away externally, the body can become more resilient, the mind can become more resilient through some of the tools we have to offer.
And one of the things I just wanted to add there, Mindy, is we both know, we all know, stress can really impact the quality of our sleep.
It can lead to other conditions too, such as insomnia, as Liz just mentioned, anxiety, insulin resistance. There's a lot of the things we see that have come from a place of stress. There's other things too, autoimmune conditions, but there's a whole array of things that stress can underpin.
Yeah. So how can natural medicine help with stress? Well, firstly, we do the detective work in the beginning, using questionnaires, assessments, and sometimes testing to get to the bottom of what's going on. We have a mood and stress questionnaire that we like to give people, and often that's quite insightful when you fill one of those out and you think, wow, I do that a lot, or I don't do that, but I do that, and you notice a pattern. So that's the value of questionnaires, we find, creating some awareness, and we discuss that. We also look at how we can support the body through natural remedies such as flower essences, diet changes, herbal medicine, lifestyle changes, massage and referrals if necessary. So our goal, as Mindy said, is to build resilience so people can tackle other aspects of their life and well-being in stages rather than contributing to overwhelm. So we do it really deliberately and work with you. As professional practitioners, it's of critical importance that we work with other professionals to ensure that the people that come and see us are receiving the best possible care available to them. We operate within our area of expertise and we're aware of what that is. Our duty of care extends quite significantly, doesn't it? we're going to refer if we need to, and we love collaborating with others. And Mindy and I often collaborate with one another.
We'd love to work together, and I think it's very important to share our skills, but also to really support each other.
Absolutely.
In our profession.
And confidentiality is maintained at all times.
Absolutely. Very safe.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so often, health therapies and natural medicine can be collated with feeling not well, but also if you're not sick. So we're not all feeling unwell, we're not all feeling not ourselves. Sometimes we feel okay and we want to continue to feel that way. So if you're not sick, it's also interesting to realise that we can also support you as naturopaths. So it's not just about treating you when you're in an ill state. So we also just want to support people who might not just feel themselves, or they might not feel well and they want to achieve that, or they might feel okay. But maintaining wellness is a very important aspect about what we do as well. So you may achieve those levels of health goals that you're trying to achieve, and we like to maintain that. So we like to do follow-ups with our clients and consistently be there to support you so that you can maintain that high level of vitality that you've achieved. And this forms a really big part of what we do as practitioners as well.
Absolutely. A lot of focus on wellness.
Absolutely. Wellness rather than sickness.
So we have some upcoming events. We are creating the workshop series. We'll be starting in February of next year.
Yes.
And some of the topics that will be covered include the gut and microbiome, hormones, mental health, so stress management there as well, and identifying stress, and ways to manage that well, and immunity as well. So each event is a detailed info session regarding naturopathy and specific aspects of well-being.
Yeah, so if there's any expressions of interest today, we'll get you to fill out the form for us, and we can send you some information as well. So please feel free at the end to fill in that form. Okay, so also with the upcoming events, we're looking at charging around $60 for each workshop. That may change as well, but that's just the initial cost of what we're looking at. We will offer a bundled deal as well for all the events that we're offering probably early next year or at the end of this year, to give people time to register and pay for their tickets. And we are taking expressions of interest today, so let us know if that's something you'd like to find more information about, and we will have some info on social media.
Yeah,
too.
And part of the reason we're doing this as well, we want to give you some information that can be really you can use. It's really tangible for you. You can use in your life straight away.
Yes.
So that won't take the place of an individual consultation. We're thinking that we may offer 10 to 15 minute mini consultations with people privately as part of the workshop. Certainly.
As an introduction as well. Yeah, just to give you an insight as to how we can tailor things for you as an individual that day.
Yeah.
But we will talk about that later on, so stay tuned. And if you haven't followed us already on Facebook, Liz Gillman has her page as well, so it's just Liz Gillman, and I'm Earth Balance Naturopathy. So if you have any questions about that, please get in touch with us on our business cards and let us know if you'd like some more info. Of course, these are our details as well. So we've got Liz's details, and her email's there as well, her website and phone number, as is mine. So Liz is based in Bairnsdale, I'm based in Sale. So we're really trying to cover that whole area here in Gippsland to try and support as many people in between as well. So we know that not everybody lives right in Bairnsdale or right in Sale, but those that live on the outskirts or around can either access both of us as well. We both have online bookings as well through our websites. So it makes it a little bit easier to achieve.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so the greatest wealth is health. That's just something that we really like to use. That quote is a very important part of what we do too.